Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's be real for a second. Have you ever had a brilliant plan, all mapped out, but you just can't start? Yeah, if that sounds familiar, this one's for you. We are going to dive into the science of why we procrastinate and give you a super simple, really powerful battle plan to finally fight back.
It's a feeling we all know, right? You have a goal. You've broken it down into steps. You've even blocked out the time on your calendar. Everything is perfectly laid out, just sitting there, waiting for you to get going.
And yet, when that moment actually arrives, something just stops you. That perfect plan, it just sits there, collecting dust, while you suddenly find yourself doing literally anything else. So what is that invisible force that's holding you back?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into today. We're going to look at this hidden conflict that's happening inside your mind, the thing that fuels all that delay, and then, and this is the best part, we're going to walk through a powerful step-by-step strategy to help you finally take control.
All right, first things first. If you're going to defeat the enemy, you have to know what you're up against. So what actually is procrastination at its core? It's so much more than just being lazy. It's actually an active choice to put something off, even when you know it's going to cause you stress or problems down the road. It's really an emotional reaction. It's our brain's way of avoiding uncomfortable feelings that are tied to a task, like, fear of failure or maybe even just plain old boredom.
And oh boy, does it show up everywhere. You see it in that school paper you cram for at the last minute, or that gym membership that's basically just a monthly donation at this point. Or how about that brilliant business idea that's been sitting in your notebook for years? These are all battlefields where, let's face it, procrastination usually wins.
Okay, so what is actually going on in our brains when we choose to scroll on our phones instead of doing the work? Well, it turns out there's this fascinating battle going on between two key players, and they're both fighting for control. So on one side, you've got your rational self. This is the part of you that's like the CEO, the planner, the one who thinks about the future, understands consequences, and genuinely wants what's best for you in the long run. But on the other side, you've got your emotional self, and this guy, he lives entirely in the here and now. All he wants is to have fun, feel good, and avoid anything that feels even a little bit difficult or unpleasant.
And here is the crucial problem. Most of the time, the emotional self is the one driving the car. So, when your rational self makes this beautiful, logical plan to work on a tough project, your emotional self just starts screaming, "No, that's hard, that's boring, let's go watch some cat videos instead." And 9 times out of 10, it gets its way.
But here's where it gets really interesting. There's a third character in this whole drama, the panic monster. Now this guy stays asleep most of the time, but he wakes up when a deadline gets terrifyingly close. The absolute fear of public embarrassment or a massive failure is the one thing that can scare that emotional self away. That's when your rational self can finally grab the steering wheel and get everything done in a frantic, last-minute caffeine-fueled rush.
Now, relying on the panic monster, it kind of works for deadlines, right? We've all been there. But what about those big, important, long-term goals? The ones without a hard deadline, like starting a business or getting in shape. For those, we need our own proactive strategy. So here it is, a 3-step battle plan to put your rational self in charge right from day one.
So the plan has 3 simple stages. First, we're going to design our attack. That means creating a plan that's actually built for action, not just daydreaming. Second, we will launch the mission by overcoming that huge hurdle of just getting started. And third, we'll win the war by building systems that make sure we see it all the way through to the end.
All right, let's dive into stage 1, designing your attack. This is all about planning, but with a really crucial twist, one that might be the complete opposite of what you normally do.
Okay, so here it is. The single biggest mistake most of us make when we plan. We daydream about the amazing result. Picturing the perfect body, the super successful company, the finished novel on the shelf. But this is a trap. Fantasizing about the outcome actually gives our brain a little hit of dopamine, a little bit of satisfaction, which makes us feel like we've already done something. And that actually reduces our motivation to do the real hard work.
So what's the alternative? This table illustrates it perfectly. Instead of focusing on the outcome, you plan the process. A goal like learn 3,000 words just sounds huge, right? It's intimidating. But when you break it down like this, you realize it's just 1 new word every 5 minutes. All of a sudden, that feels completely, totally doable. It's concrete, it's immediate, and most importantly, it's not scary.
And the final piece of your attack design is to go public. Yep, tell people what you're doing. Now, this is not about bragging. This is a totally strategic move. First, it creates accountability, because let's be honest, you don't want to fail in front of other people.
It also invites helpful feedback on your plan. And maybe, most importantly, it solidifies your own commitment. It makes the goal feel real.
Okay, so your plan is solid, it's realistic, it's broken down, and you've even told people about it. Now comes the moment of truth, launching the mission. Actually, starting.
And for this, here's a really powerful psychological trick. Don't set a start date. Instead, set a last possible start date. I want you to frame it as an ultimatum to yourself. If I don't begin this by Tuesday, I'm abandoning the goal entirely. What you're doing here is artificially creating that same sense of urgency that the panic monster thrives on, but you're doing it on your own terms.
So when that day comes, you have to be disciplined. You have to avoid the trap of warming up, checking emails, scrolling the news. That is just your emotional self looking for an escape hatch. No, you dive straight into the task. And as soon as you've done that first tiny bit of work, you report it. Text a friend, post it online, whatever. Announce to the world that the mission is officially underway.
You've launched. Seriously, getting started is a huge victory in itself. But now comes stage 3, winning the long, slow war of persistence. This is all about fighting off distraction and that waning motivation.
So how do you keep going when things get tough, when the initial excitement wears off? Well, the master strategy here is something way more powerful than just willpower alone. The most powerful strategy is this. You have to intentionally create a desperate situation. You corner yourself. You literally engineer your environment so that doing the right thing is the easy option and doing the wrong thing is hard. You have to cut off your own escape routes.
Think about it. If you need to study, don't just try to ignore your phone, turn it off and leave it in another room. Better yet, go to a library where the social pressure kind of forces you to focus. If you want to eat healthy, you delete the delivery apps from your phone and you stock your fridge only with healthy food. That way, when you want to eat junk food, it becomes a huge effort. You are creating a situation where the path of least resistance is actually the productive path.
In the end, as Mark Twain so brilliantly put it, it all comes back to one simple, powerful idea. Procrastination absolutely feeds on huge, vague, overwhelming tasks. But action? Action thrives on small, clear, manageable steps. By designing a smart process, creating your own urgency, and building an environment that forces you to focus, you can absolutely win this battle. So the only real question left is, what's the first small step you're going to take today?